Nurses, doctors or first responders, what's the most horrific 4th of July incident you dealt with? Not horrific, but last year the city of Salt Lake in Utah responded to 400 plus calls just related to firework incidents. A drunk man in a gorilla costume on a jet ski crashed into the lake dock one time and I had to kick him off the beach. And another time I had to break up a few Kiwis fighting over volleyball, but somehow I don't have any crazy devastating incidents I ever had to deal with on the 4th of July, just stopping people from doing dumb things. Responded to a call in a Walmart. Some kid lit a firework into their display of fireworks and started an industrial fire. Took 6 hours to put out. Kid got juvie time. There was a video floating around a couple years ago of someone doing this. Helped with this one as an intern a while ago. Some drunk guy was holding a mortar tube and firing it off. Ended up turning towards him, so he put his hand over the tube to hopefully stop it coming out. Ended up blowing up the majority of his hand and burned a hole in his abdomen. Hand we took back for multiple surgeries, including one to basically sew his hand to his groin to heal for a while. Abdomen was super lucky and just burned a hole through the skin, muscles and such. Didn't involve any intestines at all. Geez, lots of mortar incidents. Those things are truly no joke to mess around with. I had a 9-year-old lose an eye a few years ago. An older kid shot a bottle rocket at him and the bottle rocket hit him in the right eye. The globe ruptured from the explosion. I had to pack his eye socket with gauze in an attempt to keep the rest of the globe together, but it was pretty obvious the eye was a total loss. The older kid was prosecuted for the incident. That's brutal. Poor kid too. Little boy fell off his uncle's pontoon boat and drowned during their family's big 4th of July family get together at a lake. He was wearing a life jacket, but the propellers snagged it and held him underwater. The father beat up the uncle in the IQ waiting room when the news was broken. It was complete chaos. I was a kid at the time, first responder now. Friend of the family was a spectator at a city event. A firework misfired and went into the crowd and hit him square in the face before blowing up. It broke most of the bones in his face, lost one eye, suffered brain damage. Holy crap. Tech here. I had a patient who thought it would be funny to light their farts with a lighter when they were drunk. Their perineal area was scorched. Please drink responsibly and be careful with flammable objects. Perineal area. That's just a fancy word for the gooch, ain't it? My dad's got a good 4th of July maiming story. He was 11 years old up in Port Jervis, NY, running around, slipped, fell, and sliced his ear off on the side of an oven. He goes to the emergency room, and he sits between 2 guys, both drunk off their heads, one guy who has blown his hand clean apart, and another who put an M8 in his mouth. Both are telling him to never play with fireworks. Needless to say, my father was not fond of us playing with fireworks. Well, I imagine one of the guys told him not to play with fireworks, the other just making unintelligible noises. 2 years ago, patient came in with only thumb and pointer finger remaining on right hand. Of course, there was alcohol involved. I'm sure not the most horrific, but it was definitely a showstopper. Actual words being slurred from patient, staring down at the mess. Well crap. Deep sigh, this is gonna hurt in the morning. 2. I have a good one. So, I'm going to my cousin's lake house for the weekend. He picked me up at the airport. We're literally pulling into the trail leading to his property when his pager goes off. He looks at it and bites his lip. It goes off again, and he says, I got a call. I'm going to have to drop you and go. Not wanting to be alone in a house with his wife. Nice lady, but so talkative and high energy. She's excruciatingly awkward. I ask if I could go with him to see what the excitement is. He hesitates and finally agrees. We go maybe 5 minutes away and there's a single cop car, and my cousin beat the emergency truck. I look off to the side to see an older lady yelling at some guy, and the guy is sitting, hunched over looking like he's sad about something. My cousin gets out with his kit, and is putting on gloves as he heads over. The cop is looking like she's trying not to laugh. What seems like an eternity later, after 4 calls every 10 minutes from my cousin's wife asking where we are, my cousin comes back just as it looks like they're putting the older guy on a stretcher, but I can't really see. Cousin gets in and tells me wait till we get up the road and he'll fill me in, and the whole time he's trying not to laugh. So, older guy is sitting out behind his house planning on having a few drinks, shooting tannerite, and maybe smoke a few cigars. He sets the stuff up, and a coyote comes to the edge of the wooded area, and the guy gets the bright idea of putting some raw venison on one of the stumps he set up and blowing up the coyote when he starts munching on it. The coyote is spooked enough by the guy it goes back into the woods. Guy waits and drinks, and his wife tells him to either call it a night or put the guns away. Guy starts walking down to clean up his stuff when he sees a coyote has snuck up through the grass, and he quickly fires a shot at the stump. Big boom, coyote runs off, and the folding knife he had used to cut the venison. The folding knife he had forgotten he set down on the stump, had kicked back and nailed him right in the groin. The knife was closed, thankfully, but it still gave him quite the injury, and I guess while my cousin was helping him out, his wife was chewing him out, making an already embarrassing situation worse. This is super tragic and sad to bring up, but maybe some knucklehead will read this and be spared. Knew a kid who took a construction helmet and taped a large firework to the top for laughs. It quickly burned through the helmet, then scalp, then skull, then brain in the matter of 60 seconds. Didn't make it to the hospital. Taped a large firework to the top for laughs. I sure hope you guys at least laughed at him. There'd be nothing worse than dying trying to get a laugh and not getting one. So this has nothing to do with fireworks, but I had to treat a priapism on the 4th of July when on my emergency medicine rotation in medical school. Currently a resident. A priapism is when you have an erection that will not subside on its own after 4 hours. I'll never forget the look on that patient's face as I held his erect penis in one hand and then stuck a needle in it. Not EMT, but I once saw drunk guys light fireworks off next to a group of people where there was a freaking baby. The box tipped over and started firing at the baby. So grabbed said baby and took off covering its ears and face, and then screamed at these two jackoffs who then had serious burns trying to pick the box back up. Not even my baby. My friend's dad is the person who flies the EMT helicopter, and he got a call on the 4th of July about a guy blowing up his face. Sure enough, this one dude lit a large Roman candle, and when it didn't fire right away, stared down the tube of the firework. The fireworks bursted through his eye and exploded in his skull. I believe the guy survived but now doesn't have half his face. And then I took on the name of my alter ego, forced to wear it forevermore. I became the Red Skull. I have no personal stories, oddly enough, but I did work with a dude who was an Iraq II veteran, who only had 4 fingers on one hand. He loved to scare kids around fireworks season by telling them he lost his finger in a firecracker incident. Edited to add, he lost it when he got caught in an IED detonation. Sorry if that was unclear. Technically just a very large firework. Not a doctor, but a guy I grew up with was filling shell casings with powder from emptied out fireworks. One blew up in his hand. When it was healed, his hand had weird lumps and skin texture. It resembled ET's hand but pink. Someone lit off fireworks close to my mother on 4th of July, and I guess she thought she was on fire. So she took her pants off and attempting the rest of her clothes until my brother stopped her and reassured her she was not on fire. Oh mom. Work in a hospital. We have a burn unit. Every year there's a bunch of fireworks and grill and kitchen fire accidents coming in with something that could have been avoided if the people involved had just taken a few moments to realize what could go wrong with this idea. A recurrent one is someone setting off a small firework in their hand. Hand open, little damage. Closed hand around the firework, yeah, anywhere from a few fingers to the majority of the hand now gone. I had just started working in the ER at my local hospital when we got a call for a young female with facial lacerations and severe burns to her face and hands. Upon arriving at the ER, she was rushed to my bay and I couldn't believe my eyes. Her face looked like someone put it through a meat grinder. Parts of her cheek and nose were missing. Her left eye was obliterated, missing teeth, and her tongue was split in two. The poor girl's hands had 3rd-degree burns all over them. Found out after we stabilized her that a mortar shell had knocked over its tube and shot her right in the face. She tried to block it with her hands and it exploded. The girl lived but had to endure multiple surgeries. I haven't been around fireworks since then. Poor deaf kid was bullied, pranked by neighborhood kids and given a firecracker. Firecracker went off and the kid lost his sight in both eyes. Made me so angry I wanted to find those other kids and make them blind and deaf. RN and EMT here. Ran out of beer. Oh god, this is the saddest story in here. A firework up someone's ass. I didn't get hit but everything else did. We bought one of those giant $200 firework barrages from Phantom Fireworks and we put it on uneven ground. The first shot flipped it on its side. A couple of windows blew out, our pool got some holes in it, and of course, my father lost some fingers after he accidentally caught one. The pointer and the ring finger, but they were reattached. Volunteer firefighter here. We were on our way back from our town's parade and got a call for a motorcycle accident. The guy had his kickstand through his bicep. We ended up removing the bike from the kickstand and that's the way the ambulance took him to the hospital. I wasn't any of these, but it's still pretty freaking horrifying. On the 4th of July, I was in the emergency room when this happened a couple years ago. I was sitting in the waiting room, and then a kid was on a stretched. I got a full glimpse of her, completely covered in burns, her hair singed, blood and pus oozing all over the remainder of her clothes. I have no idea what happened to her, but I hope she's okay. One of my friends blew off his hand one year. The idiot dumped powder from a bunch of firecrackers into a metal pipe, then proceeded to use a metal hammer to insert the metal cap to close it up for one big firecracker. Well, one thing set off a spark and the whole thing blew up in his hand. What happens on the 4th of July? Is it the declaration thing? Sorry, I'm not from the US. For the record, since OP didn't explain, the 4th of July is a holiday which celebrates our independence and such, but is also more pertinently to this story a holiday where dang near everybody gets blackout drunk and then plays with fireworks. Hence, it's the most fun goddamned holiday of the year. Kid lit the fuse to his shoot in the air and explode firework. He lit it, stepped back, and looked up. The firework malfunctioned and did not launch fully into the air. According to family, it only went up less than halfway and began falling back down before the big explosion. The firework then exploded inches away from this 15-year-old kid's face. He had a full thickness laceration to the eyelid. He wasn't able to open his eye, and when we pulled it open in the air and shined a light in there, he wasn't able to see anything, including the bright light. We transferred him out because he had a serious freaking problem and we had a trauma center with an ophthalmologist on call. My kids won't ever launch their own fireworks or even have sparklers. Every year at least 3 people come in with full thickness burns to their hands and fingers from the stupid torches that we hand to kids. Last year someone thought it was a good idea to set off fireworks on a sailboat 5 miles offshore. Needless to say, the boat caught on fire, like a lot of fire, and there was no lifeboat, and only 3 life jackets, which works out pretty well when there are 13 people on board. And they were all drinking or drunk. They lived, but that was an interesting one. Gallbladders everywhere. We're missing some deets there, Captain. Not a doctor, but it happened to me. I was 5 years old and it was the 4th of July. I slipped on the edge of the bath and fractured my wrist. I have never broken a bone or damaged a bone since then. I remember being in terrible pain after the fall and my parents took me to the hospital. The worst pain was seeing all the people being rushed into the ER because of freak accidents because of the 4th of July. It scarred me as a child seeing people on the brink of death because a firework blew up in their face. You've been spooted by the study dog. Gain smartness and wisdom if you like this video in the next 8 seconds. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people, and please remember to be safe and responsible with fireworks.